Morning, YouTubers. Today's project is going to be putting in a decoder into this Proto 1000 RDC, RDC railcar, New Haven. And this is going to be my first solo install of a decoder with sound. This is the powered railcar, New Haven, and it's new. New, old inventory, Walthers. And let me just run through a few things. First thing I did was I took the couplers off. It actually has Katy couplers. I took those off, took the body screws off, and this just pops right off once you do that, which is nice. And then I did quite a bit of research. There's a lot of people that are on YouTube that talk about doing decoders, but I found this guy at Solo Contracting does a phenomenal job. He's got several videos, and he has one specifically on this one. He has several decoder install videos, but he goes through it very methodically, step by step, and he's easy to follow, and he gets it right. So shout out to at Solo Contracting. Check out his channel. So based on watching that video for this particular engine several times, I went ahead and I started to document on a napkin, literally, what wires go to what connections in the engine. And I'm using an ESU V5 micro decoder. It's 58823, I believe, and also an ESU capacitor. Now these are a little more, they're a little costlier, but you can, when you're doing your programming, you can turn this off rather than have to deal with a reed switch, and also doesn't void your warranty, so that's nice. So the ESU capacitor, the ESU micro decoder, and a sugar cube speaker with that plastic housing. And I got all that from Tony's Train Exchange, and I highly recommend them because they have phenomenal technical support. I had several conversations with them, and I ultimately decided to, for like $15, they pre-wired the capacitors to the side of this little micro board because I didn't want to screw it up and melt anything I shouldn't. So it came pre-assembled. So they take it out of the package, they assemble it, and then they put it back in the package. And then this is their, they have their own series of different sugar cube speakers, different sizes, different depths. This particular one came with an extension. If you have the space, you can make it deeper. Obviously, the deeper the housing, the throatier the sound's going to be. But for this engine, this is what's going to fit. Other note is this capacitor actually, it's got a control board, the ESU capacitor. These capacitors were on top of this, and I bent them out. I just cut off the shrink wrap and I bent them out. And that was a discussion I had with Tony's Train Exchange to fit it up here on top of the board. That allows me to do that without damaging anything. And I'm going to probably just mate these two sort of on top of each other and have the speaker next to it, and it'll all fit here. The nice thing about these RDCs is there's plenty of room because you got that dome. So my plan is to have everything up here above this board, and then underneath I'll put LED strip lighting for lighting up the inside. Just rolled that over. Over here, what I have is I've got some resistors. I've just got them labeled on the bench. So these are 470 ohm. These are 1,000. These are 2.2 thousand. And the reason for that is for the headlight LEDs, I'm going to need 470. ESU recommended just 2 of them, but I've got a few there. For the LED strip, that I'm going to put in to light the inside. I'm not sure if I'll use 1,000 or 2.2. It's not going to make a difference in terms of, you know, neither will burn out the bulb, but it might affect the brightness. So I'll play around with those. So, and then looking at the video and the instructions from ESU, the color coding is pretty straightforward. There's a green and I think a purple, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, that are extra function wires. I'll use the green for the inside lighting, and I probably won't use the purple. So looking at the instructions, looking at Solo Contracting's video, I went ahead and prep is key when you're doing this. I'm learning. The more you prep, the fewer mistakes you're going to make. So for the headlight, the white wire off the ESU board is forward headlight, yellow is reverse, blue is common. And the green, like I said, will be the interior lights. It's a function wire. Purple I'm not going to use. Speakers are brown. The two brown wires are speaker. And then there's a gray wire that goes to the motor positive and orange to the motor negative. Now, that was what the video started out with, and then he went and tested it and realized he had to reverse those. So it was orange positive and gray negative. So you test it obviously first, and you'll see if you have your direction right. And then the red and black wires go to your track power input. And the way he did it on the video is the red went to the right power track, the way it's labeled on the engine, and the black went to the left. I'm not sure if it matters, but I'm going to do it that way. So when you receive this thing, well, there's a couple of different iterations of this board. I just cleaned everything off. So there were banks of diodes for the directional headlights, and there were some resistors and capacitors. I think the capacitors are just to keep the headlights from flickering. And I just removed everything with a soldering iron and pliers, and I kind of cleaned it, filed it down, and did the same underneath. And then I'll just I haven't figured out how I'm going to wire it. The track inputs come in here, and they come in over here. So both trucks have inputs, but they are connected. They're joined together underneath the board. There's tracks of wire to connect them. Then the motor is here, and the lights are here and here, obviously. So I'm really going to use this board as just a platform to put the electronics on top and put a light strip on the bottom, and everything will be nicely hidden. I may use the underneath the wire track that goes between the track pickups from the two trucks, just to keep those tied together. Everything else I'm just going to wire directly to the board. So hopefully it will all go well. This is my first one, like I said, so I'll be learning as I go, so hopefully it'll be helpful. Here's all the crap I took off the board. There was a pin connector, I think those are resistors, these fragments of the diodes. So I just soldered them off, snipped them off, soldered them off, got them off there as best I could, and made sure it's nice and smooth. And then I'll clean it with alcohol, so two-sided tape will stick well with this. So let me start messing around with it and come right back. One thing I decided to do is keep the original headlights. They're LEDs. I'll have to throw a resistor in there, 470 ohm, because the resistors were originally on this board. So when you're coming off of this ESU board, they tell you to put a resistor between it and the headlights. So I'll put one on each. Their LEDs are a little yellow, but this is going to be, on my layout, this is going to be an old New Haven train that is used for excursions. So I wanted to have the old incandescent looking bulb light, so I don't need a real bright white. What Solo Contracting did is he actually popped the lenses out. These are plastic lenses in here that made up to the LEDs. He popped those out and then he just super glued a bright white micro LED right to the end there, and then covered the whole thing with heat shrink to prevent any bleed out. And it looked nice. It's a clever way to do it. But I'm just going to go ahead, and since these are LEDs, I'm just going to leave them. I'll just wire them up to the decoder. And again, it's got a little bit of yellow look, but it's meant to look that way because this is the era that these things were running. They had those. They weren't the bright halogen bulbs. So I want that look because it's meant to be an authentic train that's just going to run for passenger excursions. New Haven, since my railroad is New England, this makes sense. And I've got that motorman from Iowa Scaled Engineering, so this can run back and forth on the layout automatically. So just wanted to point that out, that I'm going to go ahead and keep these headlights. Okay, here's where we're at so far. Yeah, it doesn't get an A for beauty, but I wanted to leave extra wires in case I had to move things around. Sugar cube is mounted here, right in the center where the dome is, and there's the micro decoder, ESU. It's all wired up to the motor, to the track pickups, to the speaker, to the lights forward and reverse. And I've got the green auxiliary function going to LED lighting for the inside of the car. So what that is that's just LED strip lighting that you'd use like on light valance, the 12 volt LED strip. I cut it, but I did put a resistor. There's resistors in line, but the first one doesn't have it. So, and also to dim it down a bit, I put a 1000 ohm resistor, and it gives it a decent light. So, I'll tape it up, it'll look nice. The capacitor I decided to mount because it's pretty big actually. I mounted it on the roof. You won't really see it. It hangs right over, it doesn't make contact, but it hangs over the flywheel and the gears. And it's kind of in that dead space. So the only downside is you have the wire connected to the cab body, but I've tested it out, everything runs. I just need to clean it up and put it together so no wires are showing. But it's mostly right here where I've just got to do some taping. And here there's an extra wire for that interior lighting. So that's it so far. Then we'll get it on the, I want to put some people in there as well, and we'll get it on the layout and show it to you. Okay, there it is, all cleaned up. Wires are cleaned away so they're not hanging down, and the capacitor's here, sugar cube speakers here, decoder's here, and the strip light is underneath. And I've got some people in there. I need to put some more, but it fits together. We'll show it on the layout. All right, there it is on the layout. Start it up. Turn those interior lights on or off. Here it is, my first successful install of a DCC decoder.